Ooh, where?
Hey everybody, my name's Calc and welcome to another Troodon Masterclass. This one's going to be about what I call the pseudo-apex,
I see.
the Cerato.
I see. I'm gonna start getting stand back. We can start
I
fast
use
forward
the
of this
term
up close so
pseudo-apex
we can get
because
on
there is
either
no
side of
true
them.
apex in the Isle right
So
now. With the upcoming Rex and Allo getting added to the game, as well as Acro, Giga down the line, the closest thing we have to apex on the carnivore side is the Cerato and the Carno.
Oh, I see him, I think.
Because
He's
of
in
the
those
current
bushes over there?
ecosystem and roster that exists here on the Isle, the
Where?
Cerato and the
Where's he
Carno
at?
have been heavily reworked from how they were in Legacy. There's a lot of discussion kind of going forward with what's going to end up happening to Sarah, happening to Carno when the rest of the roster gets added.
I have no idea where he was,
Once
Seb.
we kind of come to that, I think Sarah and Carno will receive the proper reworks that they need, get put in the right
I see.
spots for where they're at. But for right now, they're just juicy targets for me and my crew. When it comes to actually hunting a Cerato, Ceratos have they're just nimble. They're nimble, quick bites, fast alt attacks, a lot of damage. They're a little scary to be honest with you, right? But when it comes to hunting them, you're gonna have your best success and the most luck playing it slow. When it comes to playing against larger, faster, more nimble targets, the Troodon's going to struggle slightly.
He's
Doesn't
not
mean
quite
that you
between
still
you and
can't
me.
play it against other playables, but it was never really a good matchup against Sarah's and against Karna's
But
because
he's
of health pool
closer towards
difference, speed difference, the
I
fact
mean,
that
he's
the
kind of
Troodon's
in
just a
the
glass
open. He's
cannon.
standing on like
One
a
bite,
patch of
that's it.
tall grass.
One
He
charge
probably
attack,
just
that's
sees
it.
me. He's looking back at me. That or he at least hears me.
So how do you combat that? Coordinating with your pack to see where the target is looking, who's going to be going in for a bait, who's going to be going in for first stage, second stage, third stage. Communication is going to be very key.
But yeah, he's pretty much between you and me. He's closer to the bushes by you, but he's about 15 feet out from them.
Oh yeah, she's so fucking tail.
Want me to get a hit on him? He's not looking my way.
It's up to you. I'll start distracting from the front.
I see you.
Yep, he's coming after you, Zip.
Playing it slow means that if you do make a mistake, you don't have to immediately try to correct it,
Now?
right? I missed a pounce. I pulled back, got my distance back, started getting my movement back. Just gotta see how this guy plays. Everybody plays their playable a little bit differently. There's not like a
think he's got
truly
nocturnal.
set guide on this is how you can perfectly kill Cerato players because guess what? Behind that Cerato is a player. That player could have different experience, might have a different understanding of the game, or a completely just different play style than how most people play.
6 seconds.
So what we're doing right now is we're just taking it slow, trying to figure out and understand how we're going to play this guy.
I got him looking.
Connor, Seb, they're taking it slow. Connor's getting a little bit of stamina back because he had to travel over from the western beach. So me and Seb for right now are just kiting, staying on him, making sure we're just within that 3 to 4 body length distance from him in terms of like Sarah body lengths. The Venom's already obscuring his vision. It being nighttime with all these bushes and these sounds, I can go ahead and use all these little shrubberies, things like that as distractions for noise traps. Because what we're trying to do is quite literally make him panic. He's not in stage 3 yet, right? There's no need to rush this and burst him down until all 3 of us are here and ready to go. You can get people into stage multiple times. There's still going to be damage done. There's still going to be bleed done. And they're still going to be wasting stamina just to try to get you.
On the road again.
Stamina management is going to be what elevates your Troodon playstyle to the next level.
Yeah, he's gotta be getting pretty low on stand there.
One of the advantages of hunting in a pack is stamina management. Because your prey has to deal with multiple threats at once, they are constantly expending stamina anytime a threat makes itself known or becomes present. Whereas we can become the threat at any point in time. So whenever we're not the threat, we can get some stamina back. Complacency is also going to kill. Because this Sarah has seen me and Seth lead while the other tries to find for a bite, he starts looking behind him as he chases the other, expecting the person behind to lead for the attack. This is just silent communication and experience with the three of us. We're just watching. We know how people play. We know how our pack plays. I know how Seb likes to move. I know how Connor likes to move. Another thing that we do without talking is using these F calls and these chirps and these chats to put a mental strain on the Sarah. Oh, and then Ruthie, who's playing Pteranodon, decides to fly in because, you know, he doesn't like Troodon, but he does like to fly around and peck people. So he's just going to be vibing here for a little bit. It's not going to change the outcome of the fight, but you're welcome to let me know if you think so in the comments.
That's fine. You should be getting ready to press into yellow. Lol, Ruthie. Coming on me?
Connor pulling in a tighter circle, so it makes it easier for me to get a flank. Same thing with Seb. Seb distracts, I hit.
Stage 2.
Now we're starting to get our rhythm. Now we're starting to understand how the Sarah moves, how the Sarah plays. By the way, what you're about to see is what I consider to be one of the higher level mechanics for the pounce. Base pouncing does not allow you to latch, but it can save your life. Now you understand why I play the Troodon like it's Dark Souls. These quote-unquote parries will allow you to do some damage on your target, also re-envenomate if the conditions are right. That's how we get this target into stage 3. And now it's just back and forth pounces, bursting him down. He's starting to panic, running after us, spamming those bites. Using the visual effects of the fogs, each other's calls, chirps, and movement to just burst, burst, burst. One of the issues that a lot of Troodon players kind of run into, however, is with the dismount and dismount timing. Very often the dismount, if you are looking the wrong way, can pop you right in front of a target. Or if you bump into a sort of ledge, rock wall, something like that, unfortunately it can stop your escape. Kind of predicting how people are going to move, trying to get yourself out of those situations, it takes time, it takes practice.
Stand back, let me rest.
That's fine. I mean, server's about to restart anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah, but he's so low though.
Now what we're going to be doing here, the server's going to be restarting soon. We want to finish this kill. So Seb is going to use up the remaining part of his stamina because he has way more stamina than me, considering I was doing most of the attacks in that first part of the fight. And he's just going to make sure that this guy can't rest, can't log, so that we can finish out the fight. I'm going to try to get my stamina to about 40-45% just because I want to have a little bit more than I need. Realistically, with how low this person was, I could have probably jumped in probably right now, if not a little bit earlier.
He's trying to get stamina back.
But it's better to be safe than sorry. We have time. It is 5-10 minutes before the server gets ready to restart, but it's only going to take us about 30 seconds to kill him.
Stage 3.
And you could see that even with the desync, he bites my tail, but it doesn't even put me into yellow. He is so low that the following pounce finished him off. And there we go. So once again, just to do a little bit of a recap, the way that you're going to deal with Ceratos as a pack is you're going to use your pack mate's movement to help you bait. You're going to use your movements to enable your pack mates to follow up, and you're going to communicate as much as you can. Because we've played together for so long, a lot of our communication is kind of silent, or we just know kind of how to react to people's movements. You're not going to be able to do this with everybody. Sometimes you're going to need to talk all the time. Maybe not talk at all. Everybody's group is a little bit different. So let me show you how I do it solo. I don't usually play on unofficial servers, mostly because I've had issues with them in the past, with the way they do their rules, etc. I got a little bit of an itch to hop on Petites, because I do like the fact that, well, it's a huge pop server. So you get to have a little bit more action, and with AI being disabled, player interaction is very, very consistent. You're always going to run into people. Now, most of the time, when you're going to have Sarahs come by and, I guess, try to bully you off a corpse, most of the time when they realize that they can't use their size, their big scary roar to scare people away, and they actually have to deal with somebody who uses movement, mechanics, things like that, I've noticed a lot of Cerato players turn to herbivores. I don't know why. Here he is, trying to scare me away and fight me, missing these hits and attacks on me. And what was that? Why am I throwing up? That makes no sense. I thought they fixed that bug. But it doesn't matter. Even if he did make me throw up because of a bug, whatever else, it's not helping him. Maybe this is just a thing with Cerato players, but whenever they meet something that they feel like they can't deal with, they just leave. Which is not a bad way of playing if you're not familiar or comfortable with fighting someone. Most of the quote-unquote good Cerato players, what they'll do is they'll end up playing defensive. Because of the nature of the bile and the way the Cera plays and moves, it is tanky. It is not a chaser, it is a brawler. And because of that, you have to be mindful and always on the lookout for any time they try to counter.
There's that Sarah.
But I thought I made it clear, sir, this was my beach. The way that I play Troodon whenever I'm a solo going up against someone is I am playing as a reactive camp. I am trying to lead, bait, turn, so that I can give myself an opportunity to hit. A lot of players are going to try to limit your ability to move and attack by either charging directly at you until you can create space, or they'll use something like water to prevent you from being able to use your pounce. Venom only is applied on the Troodon whenever you pounce. The regular bites don't do anything. So I can't really attack him because, one, he's in the water, I'm going to be swimming, he's going to be walking, I'm not going to be able to outrun or outpace him. So I just have to play it slow and just kind of wait it out. I think one of the biggest issues, I don't want to call it an issue, right, or like a problem players have when they're solo or when they're trying to play one of these higher difficulty kind of playables like the Raptor, Troodon, etc., to kind of go after bigger things in themselves, is that they get stuck in this mentality of, I have to finish this quickly because the longer this fight lasts, the more of a disadvantage I'm in. And I can understand the mentality, but when you are alone and you are solo, you have to play to your own strength. You don't have anybody that you can rely on. And when you play a glass cannon, every move you make has to have some sort of intent. What I'm doing here is seeing how reactive and how baitable the Cera is. Every time that I run close to range where I might pounce, he stops and he turns to look at me. But he doesn't go for an attack. He's waiting in the water for me to land a pounce so he can run to the water and kill me. That's what he's doing. And that's a very, very smart Cera play. It really is. If you're being attacked by raptors, anything that pounces on you, water is going to be a great place for you to go, especially if you are something like a Cera that swims very fast in the water. The way you deal with players that camp is, well, you bring your own marshmallows, get your own campfires started, and you get your own s'mores roasted. When you control the pace of the fight, there's just more options available for you. Keeping the pressure on, making sure that he understands that I'm not a new player. I'm just as experienced, if not maybe a little bit more experienced than he is. But when you come across someone who plays like I do, who steals rhythm, the longer you take to get yourself into the fight against me, the more strength that I have. Because I am forcing you to make the decisions. Or it's very possible that this player has gotten as skilled as they have by allowing players to always be the aggressor. Ceratos can come across in two different forms. You have the hyper-aggressive, and then you have the hyper-passive. In my personal opinion, the defensive and the passive Cera players are the more difficult ones to deal with.
I think they have that too.
Because the Cera is, like I said, he's waiting in the water. He's using stamina. He's not recuperating as fast as he could be. And that's just going to give me
Dude, this guy's so cooked.
Well, I just know that I can just do more than him. I can run for longer. I can fight for longer. So all I have to do to continue to punish him is just take my time. So if you're in a position where you can't physically hurt them, just do it mentally. That's why I love the 3 calls, the F calls, the 1 calls, chirping, making noise. Because it kind of shows a little bit of, I guess, confidence, maybe. Maybe it just shows that I'm just
And
having
he's
fun.
waiting. And that takes up more energy than, like... mhm.
But for whatever reason, the more noise you make as a Troodon, the more terrified the player you're hunting seems to get. But it's not often that I see anybody run to water anymore. Like, most Sarah players would just kind of stand their ground and try to duke it out. Or maybe they'd put themselves up against, one of the crates. But it didn't make any sense to me, at least, why the Sarah would choose to go to the water here. And he's sitting there obviously waiting for me to pounce so he could just swim. Is this like his last option? These are the things that's going through my mind as I'm trying to debate on, how am I going to finish this fight? Because we are obviously at a bit of an impasse. He can't go anywhere where it's safe. I can't get to him. So, who's going to fold first? Who's going to panic first?
Yeah, I got time.
Who's
to
going to
waste.
make the decision to
You.
fight first?
You got water to worry about.
Yeah, but by the time I'm worried about water, so is he. If not sooner.
This is where my playstyle has a lot of strengths, at least in my opinion. When you're allowing other people to initiate and try new things, and you're kind of forcing them to be set up in certain ways, either in a location or by spacing yourself to limit what they can and can't do against you, that kind of playstyle where it's harassment and it's limiting, it really screws with a lot of these kind of pseudo apexes, where they think they're the biggest, baddest thing on the beach until something that
sure you
weighs
walk
60
your stick,
kilograms laps at them. Once again, it's the second time I get thrown up from some desync fight. It's not the same timing as the first one, though, which kind of got me a little confused.
Oh, it's because you both paired each other?
Probably.
Oh my goodness. Now you're both...
Oh well, I threw up. He got to stage whatever,
More so.
and
He didn't get
back
any
to the
venom, though,
water.
though.
I genuinely think he might just be trying to get me to throw up, because if I'm out of food, out of water, I have to leave.
Because he's not gonna have stand for this shit.
Which
And all I
brings
gotta
up,
do is
I
wait
guess,
this out.
my next question / concern, which is
And
how
even
am
if
I
have to,
throwing
I
up?
can always
That was a
leave the
bug
fight
that
whenever
was
I want,
fixed.
but he can't. So I can keep this.
Now
in
I
my
did show
list.
this to one of my buddies who has a lot more hours in the game, and apparently there are some exploits where you can force people to throw up anyways.
That's the second time he-
I
that's-
get it, Capari.
It's a desync thing. That they were supposed to fix that bug, but when they're right clicking, it re-enabled it where it'll still get you sick even if it misses.
Lo and behold, if that's the case, oh well. I'm not going to assume that he was
That's
cheating or using any kind of exploit. I'm just going to assume it's desync because it's the Isle. But I want to make sure this guy's not thinking that he's putting pressure on me.
Come on.
And what funnier way to do it than to just quite literally just pounce over him a few times. Like, you can tell by his movement, his attacks.
Dumbass.
This is like a last-ditch effort. It really has to be. He's still sprinting, running around, and I just really can't justify this player's movement whatsoever. And now I know why he was playing so passively. He was playing passively because he overreacted. And now that he's realized that anytime he tries to take initiative, he's just giving me easy hits on a platter. So my sweaty Sarah goes back to finish up his bath. Remember to take your Sarah for walks, touch some grass, make sure they get all that sweat off of
Bro,
them.
he's having a bad time.
Yep, and he's a full grown, ain't he?
Mm-hmm. So that was what he's probably about half. He's got to be starving out as well.
Yeah, you got him. You kept him in third for I think maybe about 2 or 3 minutes.
I've landed about 5 to 8 shots on him at that point, so he's definitely an orange.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
he's
even,
definitely
bro. He tail bit me. I'm in green. He's hurting.
Yeah.
You can tell the general health of whatever you're fighting by the damage you take whenever they do actually hit you. Once you hit 50% health and your bar goes below that, you start to deal reduced damage.
Come on, buddy. Come out here, fight like a man. Or
The psychological warfare is kind of
just
funny.
one thing that
Because
weighs
let's be
60
honest,
kilograms, dude.
there's
What are you
no
so scared
reason
about?
something that weighs 1,300 kilograms should be scared of something that weighs 60. And I threw up again.
Ping.
This is making me wonder if he's specifically trying to abuse the bile mechanic. He waits for me to throw up once, and then he either runs back to water, or I guess in this case he decides to try to run towards the woods, the forest, to use bushes and trees to try to stop me. Whenever you're dealing with Troodons and raptors, hiding around trees, cliffs, any sort of collision-based object will knock anybody who's latched onto you. Down to the ground, easy kill. So whenever you have a target that's up against a tree like this, you want to attack him a few times without pouncing, to show that you don't have to rely on the pounce to do damage. This will cause the mechanic so that when you actually pounce, they won't know what to do. Giving your target more things to think about is what makes this playstyle strong, because you don't know what move or BS I'm going to try to pull. I have too many options available to me, which allows me to express my playstyle in different ways. I'm using the stages of Venom to give him a chance to make a decision, because he doesn't know when I'm going to be re-envenomating him and when his sight line is going to be limited again. This is why I think he keeps running in and out of bushes, trying to go to different bushes and trees. He's just running out of places to go, and I think he's definitely trying to find a place where he can, log out safely.
He's probably sitting down right now, isn't he? Yeah, this guy has never experienced a Troodon player like you, bro. And it shows.
What makes this funnier to me now, as I'm kind of watching this in post, right? There were raptors watching the fight I was having with this Sarah. And like the absolute chads they just let me handle it. And I think it's at about this moment here, he kind of realizes that there is going to be no safe place. I'm going to be able to continuously kite. I'm not leaving him. He's probably thinking, how does this Troodon have so much stamina? I've made him throw up like 3 times. This is what happens when someone who tries to abuse what I call the meta of the game, abusing exploits and bugs and different mechanics, whether it be ping, desync. This is as far as you'll ever go. You can only camp so hard. You can only sit in the water for so long. You're going to run out of options. And the player that has the most options available to them will always win these fights. It was about this time as well, I started to notice his movements just get weird. He's been walking along this beach for so long, and he starts orienting his camera forward, his body forward, so that he can look at me without turning his camera.
Look, see how he's tapping? He's trying to test to see where my stam's at.
So he's either trying to bait me to sprint in, rush in, or make me run away. Or what he's actually doing is he's getting ready to bait a quick log. Quick log / combat log is where you hit escape and just hit log out or quit. Doesn't actually safely log you out. And your body model stays in the game for another 5 minutes. What happens with these kind of players, they'll try to pretend that they're logging out, that they've given up, and that they've rage quit, or they've DC'd just to bait you into an attack. He sees that's not working. He saw the entire time he was in the water I never attacked him. So what he does is he finds the very, very edge of that water.
Quick log? Yeah, he might be trying
And
to
once
quick log
he's
in the
able
water.
to stand, he can begin the quick log
The
process.
second I see his head straighten out for a moment, I'm probably going to go in for a bait.
It's very easy to get baited for these kind of quick logs or DCs. So what I do is I take my time to make sure that he is actually away.
What's this gonna do?
By moving off to one side where his camera is not looking,
He might be
I
trying
can
to
tell
quick
if I make an action and he turns if he's there. No reaction.
Yep.
He's out.
Trying to quick log, see?
And unfortunately, there's a lot of mechanics that can be abused in the game. My favorite mechanic to abuse is the dumb player mechanic, where they think that because they saw some strategy online, they can immediately incorporate it into their playstyle and somehow become the best player. It's not how it works, guys. If you are one of the clowns that likes to combat log and quick log because you're afraid to finish a fight, I think you're limiting the amount of fun that you could have in this game. And it follows the toxic mentality of, if I can't have fun, you can't have
That's a
fun.
video.
Congratulations. You just proved to everybody why nobody should be buffing Sarah or asking for buffs for Sarah. Hopefully you guys picked up and learned some stuff from this video. If you have, let me know in the comments. Tell me if there's anything new that you figured out or something that you think I'm missing. Just let me know below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay trashy.